Everyone in the service industry has a story. Crazy customers, wild orders, and WTF moments. Do you want to start a tab? The podcast here to bring you those tales from behind the bar. My name is Carl. I've been bartending for 11 plus years. Got many stories to share, hopefully for at least another year on this podcast.
My name's Riley. I bartended for a little bit, but I watch a lot of people at the bar.
You do watch a lot of people at the bar.
Yep.
You watched me make a fool of myself the first time we met.
If I watch one more person scream about eggs in a cocktail, I'm going to lose my mind.
We just all switch to, what's the? Aquafaba.
Yeah.
Then we have to explain that shit to people.
Right. Oh, it sounds fancy.
Yeah.
No, it's bean juice.
Let's just eliminate egg whites altogether just to make others feel more comfortable.
Right.
So on that quick little egg white note, welcome Anders Eckerson. If you don't know who
Erickson?
Wait,
am I wrong?
Who's wrong? Who's right?
Erickson. Yes.
Okay, I was right.
Damn it.
Although my dad's name was Chuck.
Erickson. God, have I been saying it wrong for
the
2
whole
years?
time. And I've been telling you the whole time.
So, oh God, now I'm like stepping on eggshells. Get it? So Anders, we both kind of started our YouTube. He's another follow YouTube bartender. He's a
significantly more successful YouTube bartender.
A slightly bigger YouTube channel than ours, but a super good friend. Him and his fiance, Oz, have their own channel under your own personal name. And I'm going to quit talking and let you say hello.
Oh, say that again?
I was going to say, I'm going to stop talking and let you say hello.
Oh, gotcha. No, don't stop talking. It's all good.
Yeah.
I know the both of you through the YouTube community.
Yep.
And Oz and I started the channel, right around the same time everybody else did, when the pandemic hit.
Right.
And it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. If you've never, it still amazes me that I meet people that have not seen your channel and that, like that's not a positive or negative thing. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, you should check out this guy's channel. It's like super good, Yeah. You guys do a great job. And yeah. And so
how long have you been bartending? Tell us a little bit about your bartending career.
Just a quick little recap.
Just a little nugget.
Elevator pitch.
Sure. Yeah. I started bartending in May of 2001. So it's been.
I was 11.
What was that?
I said I was 11.
Yeah, all right. 11 plus. I started, right after I turned 21 and didn't really know what I was doing. The whole idea was just to make some money to move to Chicago. So I did that in Northeast Wisconsin, in Door County, where I grew up. And I did that for a couple of years, moved to Chicago, and I continued to bartend all the way up until the pandemic, and I was out of a job. But it's been quite a ride. Like there's so many different kinds of bartenders.
Mm-hmm.
You've got high volume bars and everything, and all the bars that I've worked at have been very small, very intimate.
Right.
I've never worked in a bar with a television, which is kind of bizarre.
Right.
But it's been good for a conversation and stories. So it's fun, and it kind of got me really focused in the actual cocktails themselves, and having a small bar, it allows you to do that. So yeah, and here I am.
It's always interesting. Like some people think like cocktail bartenders, like myself and you, like we look down upon speed bartenders or dive bartenders. I'm like, absolutely not. That's a whole nother skill set that I do not know how to do, and it takes someone. And I don't mean this like in a negative sense, but just as amazing as what we do. I'm not saying again, we're more amazing or nothing like that, but it's just a whole nother, I guess, skill set that I'm not really familiar with on how to do. And I would probably crumble like a little bitch if I had to try to make 200 cocktails an hour,
Right.
But
right.
Cause
I've certainly had my busy nights, but it's just about getting everything out there. When you go into these huge bars and they're just flying around, especially if there's any sort of flair involved, like to me, that is superhero stuff.
Right.
It's just a different kind of bartending that I'm not familiar with.
We just had lunch with one of our friends, and by we, I mean me and Anders.
Anders and I.
And Anders and I.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, grammar police. We should have a little police siren. Like every time you correct me, it's a little police siren. So anyways.
We also need a button for your rambling.
Yep. So we had lunch with one of our other fellow YouTube cocktail. Well, he doesn't do it anymore, but anyways, bartender, bar manager. And he told us he has a bar at a high-end cocktail restaurant where they have 12 to 15 bartenders on a Friday or Saturday night. And that's a whole nother level in itself. Like,
Right.
Volume. That's volume plus making craft cocktails.
Right.
I couldn't even imagine. So his name is Gabriel and he works at Sexy Fish. So if you're ever
in Miami.
So if you're ever down that way, tell him Anders, Riley, and Carl sent you.
Okay. Are you done talking now?
I think so.
Okay.
So what do we do on this podcast?
What do we do?
So what we do on this podcast is we find stories on the internet submitted by bartenders, guests who see some unique stories. We read them, evaluate them, and have fun little discussions. Then we rate them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being an average story, 5 being a unique situation that someone has never seen or heard about or just blows our mind.
Right.
So today Riley has a story that she's going to read to us. A nice little
quickie.
Nice. God. See, you're just
sorry.
It's easy to do that. Okay.
No.
And then Anders has a story for us that he's going to share with us, and we're going to talk about it and have a fun little time. So Riley, do you want to get this?
Well, first, Anders, what are you drinking?
Yeah. See?
Stop talking. Sorry.
I'm drinking a Boulevardier. I had full intentions to have a cup of coffee here, but then I drank the coffee earlier. So now I'm on to nice cocktail.
What's your favorite specs of that cocktail?
I do 2 parts bourbon to 1 part Campari and 1 part sweet vermouth.
I think that's the top. Yeah, that's what I kind of like is a little bit more bourbon forward on that cocktail.
And what's your favorite bourbon to use?
So right now I'm using Old Granddad.
Nice.
It's not the 114, but the 100 proof.
The 100 proof,
right.
Yeah. It's like, it's so funny at the bar, at the hotel I work at, when people see that, like, oh my God, you have Old Granddad 100 and 114. I'm like, yeah, it's good. And then people who don't know it, you just show it to them like, oh, this is good, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not getting a stop talking look.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, Riley?
Jesus Christ. I'm going to have to start putting a muzzle on you.
That's later tonight.
I am drinking a pina colada riff that I created on the fly, and it's pretty good.
What's in it?
What's in it?
It's got 1.5 ounces of toasted coconut rum, 1 ounce of Hamilton Jamaican pot still rum, the black.
Oh,
yep.
Stuff. So good.
And then liquid alchemix cream of coconut, lime juice,
and some vanilla syrup.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes.
Sounds good.
It's really good.
And then I'm doing a riff. I guess, this is a passion full daiquiri. This bartender in Las Vegas created this daiquiri, and I'm using 2 ounces of the overproof Demerara rum from Hamilton. I'm doing 1/2 ounce of passion fruit syrup, 1/2 ounce of vanilla syrup, 1 ounce of lime, and 2 dashes of Hellfire bitters. It's a big boy.
Right.
And that's why he's rambling so much.
It's great. It's a podcast. You have to be making noise, right?
Right.
Just anybody but Carl can make noise.
Not that you talking is noise, Carl.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Shit on Carl podcast. All right, Riley, let's just go with this story and get this fucker over with.
This was from the subreddit Bartenders, and it was submitted by the user Dead Cowboy Society 11 months ago.
I kind of like that username.
Yep. So it's called Crazy Dive Bar. That's it.
That's it.
And just a reminder, these are read verbatim, as close to verbatim as possible, because sometimes grammar errors are wild. But here we go. Are you ready for this wild ride?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Someone orders a pizza, and being that I'm the bartender and cook, I walk back to make it. There are 2 doors, one on each side of my L-shaped bar top. I look out the window of my door while getting the cooked pizza and notice one of my regulars sucking another regular's penis. Yep. This is my new story that tops a meth head driving around with a goat on their van.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
I said it was a quickie.
Okay.
Where do you start?
Is there an asshole in this fucking story? The goat? I mean,
the guy who kept the goat on their van is an asshole because the goat should not have been on the van.
right. I don't know. Like, you have never worked at a dive bar, right? Because
Anders.
And I
Right.
really haven't. And I've never had any, like, there's been some like feeling up, I've seen some of that.
I mean, there's always sex in the walk-in, but that's irrelevant.
Right. But like guests doing it out at the bar, I've never seen doing something that
overt.
bar. Yeah. Unless have you seen anything like that before?
I feel like I can't really say anything about that. I've seen some things, but I feel like those aren't my stories to tell.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I.
Yeah, and there's certainly been kind of related. Is the last bar that I worked at, we had two bathrooms that were just single stalls, so you could walk in there, lock the door, and you've got the whole place to yourself.
Right.
Well, we also had these, those really high intensity hand dryers. I think they're called like accelerators or something like that.
Yeah.
You just put your hand underneath it and just this big jet engine takes off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there were a couple times that two people would go into the bathroom and you'd hear that thing kick on and off, like kind of in rhythm. You
Right.
kind of know what they're doing. You just hear from outside the bathroom, you hear that's when you have to knock and say, all right, everybody out.
Yeah, man. I mean,
but like right there at the bar, like,
are they so much regulars that you just feel comfortable? They can just
like
do whatever?
were they sitting next to each other and one was bent over, or was one like you could just barely see the top of their head on, like when they were on the
right,
floor?
and just you see the top of that up, down.
Then you have to give them a list of rules.
Right. So Riley went to Arizona last year, and she went to this bar called Undertow, and I made the reservations, and I remember like there was a bunch of rules, right? Because it's like this very little speakeasy where they do a lot of like ambiance stuff.
It's a tiki bar that serves complex cocktails and it seats like 30.
Right. And, there's, they didn't want you to have your phones out and all this other stuff. And I'm pretty sure one of the rules said no public displays of affection, basically.
That's fair because it was real dark in there.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So it's like something must have happened multiple times for them to put that as the rule then, right. But
yeah,
I think the worst.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like, it doesn't even have to be a dive bar, but just a dimly lit bar.
Right.
You just be wary of the corners. There's always
or the booths.
Right.
I wonder how much of those also are like drug fueled also besides the cocktails flowing, right? Like did they do a bunch, a little bit of Coke before they came down, or
a little bit of Molly,
a little bit of something else,
a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
and but maybe they've been together for 20 years and they're trying to spice up the relationship,
in a dive bar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Public sex at a dive bar spices things up.
It's probably cleaner than their house then.
Oof.
So the worst, I don't know if anyone ever having sex in the bathroom at any bar I've ever worked at. The only closest thing is I worked at
I know of people having sex at the bars that he's worked at.
What? Were you one of them?
No, absolutely not.
What?
At the one in Shoeyville.
Okay. Maybe. So I did work, I guess, like at this like restaurant. It wasn't a dive bar, it was a restaurant just for a couple months. But this is that story where this woman, she was drinking all night and she was having problems with her husband. She was like significantly older than me. And I think she kind of liked me and whatever, it doesn't matter. She was getting drunk and then she went to the bathroom. And then I'm closing the restaurant and time goes by and I forget that she's there.
Because you assume she just walked out and left.
And then all of a sudden I saw her car outside and I'm like, oh, she's still here. And she's been in the bathroom for like over an hour. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's passed out on the toilet, like, or something. Right. And so I call my boss and I'm like, hey, this woman's in the bathroom. I haven't seen her she hasn't come out and I need to go in there to check on her, but I'm calling you just to tell you this is what I'm doing. Cause I don't want things that
cover your bases.
Yep. And so I kept him on the phone while I went in there and yep, she's passed on the toilet, panties down to her ankles. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, just be respectful. I'm like, I know, but this just sucks. Right. So I'm like trying to wake her up, trying to help her,
pull up her pants,
and stuff. And then all of a sudden she comes to and she goes, I'm driving home. I'm like, please don't drive home. Like you are beyond shit face. No, fuck this. I'm driving home. And she just drove home and I followed her to make sure she got home and she lived fucking like 20 minutes away. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, that's my weird.
As long as she made it.
Yeah, she made it. But like back then it was like dark and curvy roads down around Iowa City, not more like North Liberty. And you don't know any of these spots.
In the country. Yeah.
So kind of similar, probably like in Door County, right? Like people have these windy, turny roads that they know exactly when to turn left and right, and it could be pitch black and they could navigate it perfectly. And that's what she did. I'm like, okay.
Just all muscle memory.
Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. 100%. That's exactly what it is. So on the story, is there an ass? Obviously.
I mean, the asshole's the person who decided they wanted a blowjob in the middle of the bar.
Okay. Is it the person that wanted the blowjob or gave the blowjob?
Well, that depends. Was the blowjob like requested or was it freely given unprompted?
Like, hey, how you doing?
You know, it would be really cool if you sucked my dick right
now. Or, hey, I just ordered this pizza. Can you finish me off before the pizza comes out?
Right. That would be an asshole move. But if the giver just decided to do it, then the giver would be the asshole.
Right. And just like, is there anyone else at the bar at this time, like watching this all happen?
2 pizzas got ordered and I think they only ordered one. So there were definitely other people there.
What do you think they're doing? Like TikToking this shit real quick,
They're snapping that shit to their friends.
I don't know. Okay. So obviously with bar stories, I mean, it's just a ball. I mean, this is a solid 4 just on the ballsy alone of just doing it right there at the bar. I mean, I give it a 4.
Yeah. I'm going to go 4.3.
4.3. Okay.
Just for the risking the public nudity charge.
Right. What do you rate this story, Anders?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna bump it up even a little more and say 4.4.
All right.
I feel like because it is such a rare thing to see, and because it is so risky, and there's some serious detail. We're talking exactly what's being sucked here,
right?
and I'm also putting it up against the story that I'm going to share and thinking, no, that this one's better.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
That's wild. Like never in my mind has it crossed my mind, no matter how drunk I've been in my life, has performing a sexual act in public been even on my radar.
Right.
What makes you think that's okay?
I don't know.
Right. It's the fact that a sexual act is being performed. Nudity is one thing that happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it's taken a step further,
right.
Yeah, that's when you cross a line.
Right.
And it's both of them. They're both okay with it.
Right.
I don't know. It's weird. All right. If you have a better story than that, definitely share it with us on our subreddit. We have a subreddit. Do you want to start a tab? You can find it in the link of any podcast platform that you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube. Just click that bad boy, submit it. You can put whatever username you want so we can't figure out who you are with some investigation work.
Right.
And then also while you're on that podcasting platform, give us a rating. It helps the algorithms to suggest us to other people, and also just share this podcast with someone. If you're enjoying it, have a good laugh. share it with your friends and family. So now, Mr. Oh my God. Is it Erickson?
Erickson. You think you're friends with this guy.
I know. I'm not, obviously not. He just deals with me like everyone else.
For real.
He'll get us drunk. It's
Everybody
okay.
gets my name wrong. It's all good. Usually my first name, not my last name, but that's okay.
Right. All right. It's story time. Let's hear what you got to give the world.
Well, yeah, you put it that way, there's a lot of pressure. When you invited me on and you said, yeah, just share one of your stories, I actually had to think about it for a little while because I do feel like that a lot of the best stories that I know from bartending, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like they're not my story to tell.
Right.
The bars that I work at, they're pretty small and intimate, and people share some really fascinating, interesting, sometimes embarrassing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say there's like a bartender customer privilege thing.
Right.
So I have to think of like the stories that are really more centered around me as opposed to others.
Sure.
Right.
But yeah, the first one that came to mind for me was actually it happened a long time ago, and it's really more of a moment that happened that is something I haven't forgotten and I think about quite a bit. And it was when I was bartending up in Door County. It's a fine dining restaurant, really small, like 8-seat bar, just off of the dining room. It's a fine dining restaurant, and um, this couple came in. I had been working there for 2 years, I'd say, so this is probably 2003, like 20 years ago, and I was young, and I was trying to save money to move to Chicago to pursue acting, actually, and, this couple comes in, and I remember she had a Cosmopolitan and he had a Rob Roy, and he was, one of those guys that sits at the bar and takes up as much space as he can, and he's just got a booming voice, really, a really big presence, and we're just kinda getting the flow of service, and it's starting to pick up, and he's sitting right in the middle of the bar, and I should I should preface this by saying in Door County, it's, highly seasonal. The summertime, it's really busy, a lot of tourists. In the wintertime, it really kinda dies out. So this was in the fall, and I was about to move to Chicago, and I was trying to save up money. So this guy knew that, like things were going to get slow soon, and so he asked me, what my plans were for the off season. And I said, well, honestly, I'm just trying to save up as much money as possible to move to Chicago. And he said, oh, well, I'm actually from the Chicago area. What is going to be bringing you down there? I said, well, I'm pursuing acting. I was like 23 at this time. I had no acting, Asian or anything. But, yeah, I was gonna move to Chicago and pursue acting and take some improv and just kinda give it a go. So I tell him this, and he said, "All right, well, let's see what you got." And I'm thinking, "What do you mean?" You know? "I made you your drink." And he's like, "No, no, no." He's like, "I want you to perform for me." He's like, "Move me." I and I said, "Move you? What do you mean?" He goes, "I wanna feel something." Like, make me laugh, make me cry, make me angry. Just, give me one of your characters and move me. Maybe do a monologue you have prepared. And I'm thinking, I don't have a monologue prepared. I probably should have.
Right.
And so this went back and forth, and his wife, I could tell, was a little embarrassed. She's rolling her eyes at the whole thing. And I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, because business is picking up there. We got tickets rolling. I'm trying to make cocktails, and he is just like not letting me talk to any other customers. He's like, no, he's like, if you want to make it, he's like, you got to be able to like turn it on like that, and you need to pull some sort of emotion out of me. And I'm starting to really get irritated with this guy. I'm like, just go away and let me work, right? So I start kind of avoiding him a little bit. Those 2 start drinking their cocktails, and he finishes up his Rob Roy, and at the time, I had my head down. I don't know what I was doing, if I was, like, washing glassware or something, but he says, "Hey, can I get another Rob Roy?" And I chose not to look up at him. So he goes, "Hey, can I get another Rob Roy?" And so I slowly looked up at him, and I said, what did you say? He said, another drink. Can we just get another round here? I said, how dare you? You walk into this bar, you sit down, you take up all this space, you start yelling at me like I'm your puppet. You start saying, hey, make me feel something, give me emotions, all this kind of crap. What's going on? You know, I'm like, who do you think you are? Huh? You think you're going to get a second Rob Roy from me? And I'm like, start pointing at him. And I said, hey, I want you to settle your tab. There's the door. Have a good night, pal. I don't ever want to see your face again. And at this point, he is leaning back in his chair and he starts like rocking and he's just turning white and he's gasping for air. His wife stands up. She puts her hands on his shoulder and she looks at him right at the side of the head and says, you have to apologize right now. So she turns to me and goes, I am so sorry. We will settle our tab. I'm really sorry. And the guy's going, yeah, I'll close out. And I look up at him and I look at her and I said, hey, do you feel an emotion now? And there's like this pause where they were thinking, is he mad or is he not? And then I just burst into laughter. They burst into laughter. I made him another Rob Roy. Everything was cool. Right. And they tipped handsomely. So
that's awesome.
It was this one time I felt like I could actually speak my mind,
right? But
I could play it off like, no, here we go. This is just a bit.
That's awesome.
That's
because like we want to say that to not half the people, but there are times that scenario comes up and you just want to just lay into them and you just let that kind of like manifest more and more because he was getting like, he's getting agitated because you're not doing it. He's trying to like, you just need to do.
Well, because he had like this, from what it sounds like, he had this like air of importance where it's like, well, prove to me that you can be an actor. Why do I owe you a goddamn thing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I would have loved to sat there just like
watching this guy.
Another customer's like, what the fuck is going on? But this is amazing.
Yeah. And the bar, it was a separate room from the dining area, but you know, it's a big open space. And certainly there were people that were sitting at the tables thinking that I was really pissed at this guy. So for the rest of the evening, like people were coming up and they're like, hey, was everything okay? What was with that guy? You know? We were just having fun.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, that's like, yeah, because it's so funny that he didn't even like catch on that that's what you're doing. Right. You know, like he forgot that's what he requested because it was timing, right? Like you timed it perfectly to set it all up.
Right.
And, you know, like, were you consciously doing that or was it just kind of like building up to it and you're just like, fuck it, let's just go, you know?
Right.
I knew I wanted to do something to surprise him.
Right.
And so I just kind of like let it die out. And clearly he thought that, okay, this isn't going to happen. And then when he asked for another drink, that was like the moment I'm like, yeah, okay, this is where I'm going to lay into the guy. I also, you know, had been watching him to make sure that I was comfortable enough with this guy, you know, to where I could pull this off.
Right.
So, you know, I could see how he would interact with other people and everything. And he seemed like a pretty chill guy for the most part.
Right.
Why it stuck with me was just the look on his face. Like he started, you know, he's on bar stools, a bar stool, not multiple. And the way he like kind of threw himself back and he was so shocked that this was happening. Like I thought he was going to fall backwards. His wife thought he was going to have a heart attack. He just like went white in the face and he couldn't say anything. And I just ate it up. It was just a fun time where I felt like I got him, you know?
Right.
I love those moments where like you feel comfortable with that guest. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you think you feel that comfortable, right? Like you're always gambling, like how comfortable you have this like interaction.
Like how much leeway do I have to say something that might get me fired?
Right. Well, I can get fired every other word that comes out of my mouth, but
right.
Yeah,
might be the operative word.
But it is fun. Like, I can do whatever I want with these 2 or 4 or 6 and they will just eat out of the palm of my hand. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just, they're here to have fun. They're having a good time.
And you're delivering that.
And I'm delivering all
and
that.
Sometimes light ribbing is giving that.
Right.
Anders did heavy ribbing on that one. He was
no,
like,
no. I like, so if we're talking about who's the asshole in the scenario, the guy who said dance monkey is the asshole. Like he was probably doing it in good fun, and he was probably thinking he was helping you, but he's still an asshole move. Like, oh, you wanna be an actor? Prove to me you can be an actor while you're doing your job. That's still an asshole move. It's dance, monkey. Dance.
Did he say?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Did he say what kind of like job, or did he have any background like in acting or entertainment world?
No,
or
he's
anything?
just from Chicago.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah. He yeah, I think he was just trying to. I thought he was kind of be, he's trying to be funny,
Right.
he's trying to be helpful, but yeah, he had no.
Okay.
As far as I know, maybe he did.
Right.
Casting director of some major theater. Or
Right. It'd be so funny now. He sees you now. It's like, I remember that doucher 20 years ago. He almost gave me a heart attack. Now he's just doing YouTube. Ugh.
Right. That guy gives me the same vibes that I get like when I say, yeah, I like metal music, and guys who don't think girls should listen to metal music are like, oh yeah, well, what are your favorite bands? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to, I don't have to prove myself to you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It is that. Like, I don't, like right now, I'm just serving you a drink.
Right.
Like, I don't know who you are, and I'm not going to give you a show.
Right. And I'm in the middle of my job right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
What's oh man, what stupid movie is it? I think it's where they turn this old high school or something into like a college to make their parents think they're all going
accepted.
Yeah, and the guy is like dressed up in a hot dog wiener costume, and he's just like
ask me about my wiener.
Ask me about my wiener, and stuff like that. Like
that should have been your prepared monologue,
right? I'm pretty sure that movie was not out yet when that
no,
happened.
it absolutely was not.
But like, I just think that right. This is like some I don't know, but
pull out some Shakespeare in Love or some shit.
Right.
Man, okay, so this is actually like the most like. We've all had, on the podcast so far, people give very personal stories. This is like this is a very different type of story. Right. So, there's really, yes, not Anders, but the other guy, guest, is kind of the asshole for pushing nonsense down his throat or just wanting like, dance, monkey dance type thing. What do I do? This is one of the harder ones to
So Anders, if you had to rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give it?
Well, that's tough because you have to think about what the story has and what it doesn't. We have no real drugs other than alcohol,
right?
No nudity. We have no sexual activity. I'd say overall, it probably rates pretty low.
But it does. But then
like a 2.4.
But then it does rate really high on Audacity. Like it has a lot of Audacity.
It does, yeah.
So it rates pretty high there.
I really like it because it's just something that I think about all the time.
Sure.
And in the moment, it was a big enough thing to where everybody else in the restaurant was kind of a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as like bar stories go, it's not really risque.
No, I don't think these stories always have to be risque to be higher number, but I'd say I'm going to give it a 2.8.
Okay.
Because I think because of the guests or the other guests coming up and asking you, because there was such a moment, right? However long that moment lasted, right? A couple of minutes or whatever like that. They were like, oh my God, how, like, what, like, everything okay? I'll give it a 2.8.
I am going to break our rating system a little bit.
Oh dear God.
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. That's passable.
That's passable.
So here's the thing. Does this happen frequently? Yeah. Like things like this. Oh, you like.
Mm-hmm. Guests try to push the bartender's limits during like super busy times when they're like, this is not the time to be doing that.
Right. I'm going to say it gets extra points because this is the first time I've heard of it happening to a man.
Okay.
And I'm sure it does all the time, but this is just the first time I've heard of it. And second, because my emotional response to that would have I would have been beet red, almost in tears. So like my emotional response, putting myself into the situation with the empathy I have, I would have been so pissed. And I would have held on to that story for 20 years also. And the fact that you've held on to it for 20 years deserves more points.
And that he can remember the 2 drinks he made for them.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah,
because
that's how I should have known right there that I was going to be a lifelong bartender. The beverages they had in their hands.
because the emotional response was so high and high enough to remember this story out of all of the interactions you've had as a bartender for 20 years, it needs to be higher than a 3, I think.
This is why I married my wife or married you, married my wife. But I'm going to change mine to a 3.2.
Okay.
She's
I'm keeping mine down to, I think I said, 2.4 or something?
Yeah.
I don't know what I said. Yeah, I'm keeping it there.
2.4. Because you are now rating on all the stories that you've had, right? They're so one of these days, all 4 of us are just going to drink and we're just going to tell each other stories. That'll be off the record. And we're like, damn, You're right. That was just a 2.4.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. You as you know, you accrue all these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And when I, later in my bartending career, I felt like a lot of craziness happened around me, but in a way I could anticipate that this crazy thing was going to happen. And I was just more in control of my domain.
Right.
But some of these stories that I have when I was first starting out bartending,
Sure.
everything was so new to me. And I feel like they were all little lessons, how I learned, what a perfect Manhattan was, or, the one time I got my life threatened over a rusty nail. These are things
wait, where's that story? Next time. Save that for next time.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
Death by rusty nail.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what you should name a riff on the rusty nail cocktail.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Dibs. Or how about this? You and I each try to make a drink called Death by Rusty Nail, and we'll see what we each come up with.
Showdown?
Have a showdown. Death by Rusty Nail. All right.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Be a mashup of a rusty nail and a death in the afternoon.
Yeah. Do you know what a death in the afternoon is?
I've vaguely.
It's absinthe and champagne, correct?
Say, I knew it had champagne in it, or had
absinthe.
Had absinthe in it.
Yeah. All right. Man. My mind is just right now. It's a dumpster fire right now.
Because you put 151 Hamilton in that daiquiri.
That was a dumb idea, Carl. That was a dumb idea. All right. So now what we're going to do, I guess, first of all, Anders, is there anything that you like to plug or tell people to go check out of your projects that you have going on?
Oh, yeah. Plug time. Yeah. Check us out on YouTube, Anders Eriksson. Weekly uploads, videos. Then we're trying to build a community on Patreon for those that are willing, able to support. Yeah, and then we've got some merch going. I've got a coffee brand.
That coffee, seems that's going pretty well, right? You guys are always sold out. It seems like, right?
Yeah, we're actually working on some other things to do with it, which hopefully in the next, say, month or so, we want to launch some little new things regarding the coffee. I don't want to say too much.
No, you're good.
Got to build that.
Build the suspense.
Little teaser.
Yeah, exactly.
So note to self, budget money to order coffee. Got it. By that time, we'll need to buy coffee, so it'll be perfect.
Right, exactly.
Nice.
Cool, nice. Awesome. So what we're going to do now is we are going to do our Patreon last call. We're going to talk to Anders more about dive a little bit more into bartending in Door County and his YouTube journey. And then he worked at a bar called The Final Ward, correct?
It was Ward 8.
Ward 8. That's it. Okay. The Final Ward. I knew it wasn't that.
I was
Ward
like, that's 8. A cocktail. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
Ward
created that.
But Ward 8 is also a cocktail. Oh. Yeah. We've had it before.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're going to, if you wanted to support us, head over to our Patreon. Do you want to start a tab? It's just a small $3 a month. And we interview all of our guests, and Riley and I will eventually add some more content about ourselves. And yeah. So yeah, And just remember, don't be a dick, tip your bartender, and drink responsibly.